There we go. All right. Cull and Good Bull, cut 4. Bonfire 2023. This one should be pretty quick. This one should be pretty quick. Came out on Saturday or Sunday. Brought two of the kiddos. They cut with Leggett, and it was a hot day, and they burn out pretty quick. But I did come back out to stack site, and so we're going to see the first of unload for 2023. We'll do that. But first, to get ahead of the question that I know I'm going to get, and I always get, and I get it at cut 3 or cut 4 every year, and then it comes up again at stack 4 every year. Every year, somebody says it's not Roman numeral I. It's Roman numeral I4. And I'm here to tell you that you're wrong. I had to remind it. You know, it is a crying shame that I have to remind fighting Texas Aggies every year that it is I. And I've got proof here. Something I did years ago. This is from the top of G. Raleigh White. One day here's the insides. Such a great space, G. Raleigh. So one day I'll go through these, maybe in the spring when there's not, bonfire stuff going on. But yeah, I documented the final days of G. Raleigh White. Renovating and rebuilding Kyle Field. Spent the night in G. Raleigh before it was turned over for demo after spending probably a couple months documenting the last pieces. But from the top of G. Raleigh White, All Britain Bell Tower, there you see I. That's how we do it. So it's cut 4. Cut I. That's it. I'm not going to explain it again at stack. Anyway, so 2, cut 4. Let's get to it. It started out, as you might have seen there for a second, it started out messy. Let's put it like that. To access cut site, you're going down a road that is on either side. There's crops going on. There's crops all out there. The roads are lined with cotton scraps. So there's a lot of growing going on out there. There's the riverbed. The soil's good, but that means that there's irrigation too, and the irrigation swung a little wide before cut and made one hell of a mess on this road. So I hadn't seen it like this before. Apparently, this is the first weekend that it happened before, but sometimes it does happen during the week that sprinkler will sprinkler. It's a big old center pivot boom coming out that way. But hopefully with the rain, there was a couple inches of rain around here. I thought I remember seeing that they would have gotten a little bit more out there. Hopefully they'll not be using that sprinkler before family cut this weekend. But yeah, it was you see down the road there's maybe half a dozen cars. Everybody else ended up just playing it safe, myself included. Um, I got that old Ford. I probably could have made it, probably could have done it, but I didn't want to be that guy that wasn't actually contributing to the cause, doing actual work, who ended up needing a dozen college kids to spend their morning energy pushing me out of the mud. So, I just did the extra walking. Now, it sucked for the yellow pots and butt pots. When there was the call for that, they had a ways to run. I mean, all of this should be lined with cars. And I'm sort of at the front of a whole bunch of cars behind at this point. It was a heck of a lot of extra distance to cover. And I'm not even sure how everybody fit in, actually. The whole drive just backed up with cars. But everybody figured out their way back in. Oh, what an awful day to have those buggies going. So you see here, I mean, they've already been walking for a little bit, more than a little bit. This could have all been cars. Honestly, I was impressed. That was the most efficient obstacle that I can recall seeing. I mean, that was just so beautifully efficient. That one little stretch of mud right up towards the front turned into so much extra work to start the day with. And when I left, not even at the end of the day, when I was bringing the kids back to the truck to bring them home, not even the end of the day, not even the hottest part of the day. That was not pleasant. So you see there they are. There's the youngest two. So we'll see today that I spend a little bit more time Leggett and FHK. We're next, in a adjoining woods there. Spent a lot of time over there on this day because the kiddos were there and check in on them. When it's the older two, it's like, what are you still doing here, Dad? Go away. So they left the truck loaded before work even starts. So this one's going to be heading up to unload. And like I said, they will not be in the woods for very long today. I think a couple hours. We did go to see unload, and that would have started in earnest, having a truck already loaded, waiting to go to unload. So this is the top of a hill there that's kind of placed in the center. And I'm going to be coming back here a couple times, just trying to get an idea of what I can do for parent cut this weekend. And this is a pretty, I think it's going to be a pretty cool spot to catch people coming from a few different directions. We're here in FHK doing a little down swinging on a vertical tree still. Sort of topping the tree while it's still standing. There's one in there. There's a few of the kids swinging, jump over those. This is the tree they started with. They're in Leggett Woods, and that's the tree that they just finished. We left for the day. Schumacher was there next to FHK and Leggett. I've said it before, Schumacher has become very, very good at setting low wedges. And what's so great about that is that while they had no judgment here, no judgment, while they had the shortest average height, I would guess, of any crew for many years there. I mean, they, diminutive generally. They still had really high wedges. And now they've gotten tall. And their wedges are coming down. They're kind of setting the standard on keeping the wedges below the knees. So good on Schumacher. Neely was all the way down at the end. The very end of the site there. This is where Kruger was the week before. It's a nice little pocket back there. I'm looking forward to getting back. This is one of the places that I'm looking forward to getting back into now that it's cooled off. Or it will be cooled off this weekend. It's a nice cozy little pocket. And you can see a good bit of clearing has already happened. Clearing brush, adding to the brush pile there. And again, the gnarly trees. I'm really looking forward to seeing how Stack works out with these winding trees the way they are. But not all of them, like this monster. I remember there's a fair bit of trash talking going on here at Leggett's Tree. More than a little bit of trash talking. It was is pretty good. It's pretty good. I haven't heard from the kids' school yet that they brought any of it to school, but we shall see. I joke, but it's possible. We're still trying to work on it. But my kid's school has got a few old post oak trees that are clearly dead out front. And so we're trying to work on a deal where sort of a school field trip, not field trip, but, like a special event kind of thing. We're trying to work out the details for Bonfire to come out and show the students at the elementary school what teamwork and mutual respect and leadership and listening and discipline and all that look like, and cut down those post oak trees and let the kids watch some brown pots run a chainsaw on it and turn it into logs, and Aggies will throw it onto the back of a truck and haul that tree off, and the kids will know that their tree is going to be on Aggie Bonfire this year. So hopefully that works out. But you got to do a lot of dotting the I's and crossing the T's on the subject of bringing chainsaws and axes to the elementary school to cut down a tree in front of kids. So we'll get there. In the meantime, maybe my kids can bring some of the trash talk that they learned at Bonfire to the classroom. Again, it's not the coolest looking thing in the world. Let's be honest. Hauling brush is far from the coolest looking thing in the world. But it really does a lot for me, just remind how much of this work is just extra work. I mean, I guess there is no such thing as extra work, but it's not the fun stuff that you would generally think of, cutting down trees and whatnot. You got to put in as much time getting to the trees and then cleaning the trees up when you're done with them as you do actually getting to cut them down. Honestly, you probably spend more time doing other things besides cutting the trees down. So back in the pelt woods here, and with them heart again. So these would have been close to the front woods from Chief Cut. And really, things have opened up a lot already. It feels like, I don't know, in a weird way, usually once you start opening up cut sites, it starts feeling like a bigger place. But at this site, as it opens up, it feels like a smaller and smaller place. Because at other cut sites, you start opening it up and then you could see much farther than you could before, and you see how big your place is. This place is big, but it's got all these hills and all this other stuff. And so as this place opens up and as they clear more and more of it, it just gets easier to move around. You can take shortcuts and whatnot that you couldn't before, which are really useful with the terrain. Speaking of terrain, again, back at the top of that hill, I cannot emphasize enough how grateful I am to not actually have work to do. I never cut anything on ground like this. There's a lot of up and down. And again, starting the seasons now, the way they have been for some years, starting earlier, some years they're a week or two, up to 2 weeks earlier than in the past. It gives you a couple extra weeks to cut. It gives you a little bit more fallback space. It gives you a little bit more contingency, which again, very helpful and essential in the COVID years. with the mandatory quarantines that Bonfire imposed on itself. Nobody imposed those on Bonfire. Bonfire created its own quarantine rules and enforced that strictly. And to allow for that, they started cutting earlier in the year. And they found that that was something that was still useful and applicable to subsequent years. And that's great. But what that means is that you've got more hot weeks of cut. You get an extra week or two of just being miserably hot. And now it's miserably hot with terrain. Leggett had a bunch of folks come in, tap in on this tree and help him with it. It was a big one. And at this point, right now, just off to the left here, that's where the river is. So they're pretty close to the river here. I keep thinking catfish would be a nice lunch. One of the greens from Leggett. FHK moving a log out. And with that, that's going to be the end of cut. Get the kids back home like we talked about. But now we're going to jump a couple hours later to our first look at unload for 2023. We're back up at stack site. Now, we talked about how awful that road was, how wet it was. We looked at it. It was awful. But yet they still got 6, maybe, can't recall exactly if it was 6 or 7 trucks out, which is a pretty good haul of trucks, given that the road was impassable in the morning. So they unload the trucks in the familiar way, breaking the truck sticks, running with the rope. You'll see that this one here, you're going to see doesn't quite want to give. And you can probably see why. That knot slipped down towards the end there, right when they tugged it, it slipped down, so they weren't able to break it. They got the rope back up to the top, and there she goes. You got the ramps chained up underneath the truck, protecting the tires, and then keeping the logs a safe distance away from the truck for once people got to get in and sort them out and move them off. So again, every step, I mean, there's not a step that they don't figure out some kind of way to do by hand. Now coming from a load group, I mean, load is a special kind of miserable, picking those logs up and throwing them onto the truck. But honestly, I'd take load all day, every day. No shade, running around in the sun, picking these logs up and throwing them on the truck. I would take that all day, every day over unload. Same drill, no shade, no relief, just grinding, taking your water breaks, just waiting for the sound of that truck coming up the road. Oh, unload is a freaking grind. And today, for this unload, the core was there. Everybody rotates on unload. There was a Dunn Hall was a crew that came back, and they came back strong enough that they got their yellow pot back. And this was, oh man, 2010, 11, something like that. Dunn Hall got it figured out. They got back together, and it was going good for them. And they went out and they did unload. It was their turn. And they did well at it. And they said, you know what? Let's make it done load. It's done load from now on out. Walton's got load. We'll do done load. And the next year, Dunn was dead. Their big comeback lasted a year, and unload killed it. So this is a new truck that came in. They actually came in pretty quick while I was out there. So this is a second truck that's come in. You pull off what truck sticks you can safely, leaving a couple or a few behind depending on the load. Again, tie up the truck sticks, run with the rope. And there they go. There was a bigger log in the middle of this one. One of the evolutions, I think, over the years. I just remember loading the truck. Just throw the logs on the truck. And that's it. It was simple. Well, now they've got terminology. They've got wings and crowns. And crown is the one in the middle, and it should be the biggest one on that truck. And I'm not hip to all the lingo. Say we were simpler people. Just do the logs on the trucks. So it is a privilege to be able to get up on the truck and sweep. Now, usually it's a privilege for the fish. That's something that the fish get to do, and it's a cool little thing. If you run and you go get some brooms fast enough, then you get to get up on the truck and sweep it. Well, the Corps sent their fish home for different outfit stuff the fish had to do, and the upperclassmen stayed behind to take care of it and take care of the rest. And so it was a pisshead privilege on this day for heads to get up and sweep off the truck. So we're nearing the end here with that scene that we opened with the intro, but there was this one that speaks volumes, man. I'm glad these turned out. Look at that. Hot. No relief in sight. Except for Ace. Ace found himself some shade. But that's what they're up to. They got the skids accumulating. A fair bit of logs out there already. It's been what cut 4. I guess that was the 5th or 6th maybe day of cut. Accounting for double weekends. Yeah, it's 5th or 6th. So about halfway through cut, and the woods are now cleared up. A lot of the brush has got out of the way. The paths are now getting into places more efficiently. You've got family cut, parent cut coming up this weekend. Old Army might remember that as father-son cut, but years ago, I think it was about, maybe a decade or ago, everybody just kind of looked around and realized that there's a lot of moms out too, and siblings, and little brothers and sisters coming out, and it just kind of turned into a whole family thing. So now it's family cut, and that will be this weekend, and that's always big. So as much as got done so far, we're about to see a whole lot more yet. And I'll be doing everything I can to keep up with everybody this coming weekend. Fortunately, like I say, cut site's getting smaller on this piece with all the paths opening up. And I'll do my best to keep up with everybody that's going to be out at Family Cut. I hope to see all the motivated families out there. I've said it before. I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being the next Monday Modi or thereabouts. But there's just this outstanding experience of when families, especially moms and dads, come out and experience for the first time what it is that their motivated Aggie is doing. And just that look in a parent's eyes, especially when they come out thinking, oh yeah, let me show you how it's done. And that look in their eyes when they realize, holy smokes, this is nuts. This is what you've been doing. That's a pretty motivating experience. So I hope all of the families can make it out. I hope the damn sprinkler doesn't slip onto the road again. And get motivated. Like I said, pretty short one this week. Thankfully, I could use some sleep. But we'll have these photos published. The schedule's been, Monday, Tuesday, these photos go out. Monday Modi's on, every Monday. Wednesday, another episode of Perimeter Fires next week. And we've got some really, really outstanding. They've all been outstanding, but there's just what's coming out is this. I'm just motivated for it. So stay tuned for that Perimeter Fires podcast on Spotify and now also Apple Podcasts. So get your Monday motivation, get your Perimeter Fires motivation from outstanding Aggies who have built Bonfire and led Bonfire in the past, and follow Bonfire itself on Facebook and Instagram, and get motivated. That's it, Aggies. See you next week. Build to hell.